It's the Benz Brunani womanist. Baby boys, baby girls, you need to hear this. If you sit down, receive this realness. Make sure your cup's ready for the tea, we are go sip it, yo. Hard time scrolling for your long shorts. You might learn something you never know. Collect you fine, and she's one of a kind. Don't say you're mine, say you're mine.
Yo, 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 what's up, what's up? It's the birthday girl, what's up, what's up? Ay, ay, what's up, what's up? Well, it's not my birthday yet, but we're just going to keep doing that. Because it's October. Yes, it's not my birthday yet, but I'm just excited. I'm so excited because 32, I mean, honestly, 32 years old. Ha! I never aspired it, but God gave it to me. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Wow. Yeah. Anyway, welcome. My patrons, welcome. Thank you for supporting me this far. And I'm just really, really glad that you all exist. And I hope that you, before coming to listen to the extra content, I hope that you have bought your affirmation cards. If you planned on getting yourself a deck, I really hope that you've got it because like I said, I only made 100 because I love to move mad. That's what I love to do. So, and you know, it's international shipping. So if you're a baby girl in Canada or wherever, Sweden, all of them places there, Australia, because I know some of you were asking me about Australia and New Zealand. And while I feel like your government and your people move mad, of course, I will send it to you to help you stay sane in a world of madness. So make sure that you've ordered so I can get that out to you as soon as possible. Anyway, let's get into the tarot then for this week. So as you know, in the main content, I spoke to you about the 10 of coins as well as the page of coins. And so, pardon me, what I'm definitely thinking about this is that we are looking at a period of prosperity in terms of finances and career. And it's telling us that whatever it might be, even if it's relationships, but I strongly feel that we're talking about finances and career. If that is the case, then these opportunities are coming to us as seedlings. They're not even coming as massive, like boom, bam opportunities. They're going to grow into something that sustains us lifelong in terms of financially. They're going to be something that sustains us for a long time, but it's going to start as something small that we have to build on. But it's not going to start as something small that we're going to have to like slug away at. We're going to be so fucking like exhausted from working at it. No, it's going to be something that's actually fun. Like the process of doing it will be fun. And I think that actually helps you have more energy in the long run. If you're enjoying what you do, it makes a hell of a difference. People like to say, oh, if you do something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. That is a fucking lie. My God, I love all of the shit that I do, but that does not mean that I'm not working. I'm out here working. And I think because people think that, oh, you're doing what you love, that means that they can pay you some dickhead rate. Nah, I said I love what I do. I didn't say that I love being a dickhead. So you're gonna have to pay me my actual rate, like as someone who's creating shit. Like you have to pay properly. So the reason I say that is because we have the Major Arcana card, which is the High Priestess. And she doesn't look like we've seen her before in the other tarot deck when I was using the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. We're looking at her now, looking almost like, this image is familiar, I just can't place it. But we've got her here because I say it looks familiar because in the deck as well, there's one that looks a lot like Beyonce. So I think that this is meant to be someone that I know, but it's not coming to me. Anyway, her crown is literally created by her braids. And the number 2, the deck of cards that the affirmation cards are £22.22 because I love the number 2. But we've got it here, and I love synchronicity. And this 2 here is 1-1, and I've been seeing lots of 1-1-1-1-1. But anyway, we have to have that High Priestess energy, remembering that we are part of the universe and the universe is also part of us. So the same way that the universe is ever powerful and ever a creative force of love, that is exactly what we are as well. So that's why this situation here, to get to this 10 of coins business, we have to use this opportunity that comes as a small sort of seedling. That's a fun little opportunity. We have to apply that big girl energy, that big girl energy, that high priestess energy to it in order for all of this to culminate. Like, this is what leads to this through this. Yeah. So having all of this high priestess energy and applying it towards these opportunities that come our way, where we demand what we are worth and we don't settle for less, we settle for more. That's what's going to bring about the 10 of coins. So that is the imagery that you need to be thinking about and focusing on over the next few weeks, I would say, because this isn't just like a weekly reading. You'll find that later on it applies to you whenever the hell you listen to it. Like, that's when it was meant for. But getting into the content for today, I got a letter from someone who I'm going to call Chamomile for the sake of this podcast. And Chamomile says, also trigger warning, because we're going to be talking about sexual assault. So if you're feeling tender today and it's not really something that you want to hear today, you can just switch off and come back to this later, should you decide to. She says here, "Dear Kelechi, I would firstly like to state that I'm a big fan of your podcast. I love the way that you deliver serious talking points with such humor and wit, and your ability to freestyle an intro at the beginning of every episode. This, teamed with your refreshing honesty, are much needed in the podcast space, which made me sad to learn that you're planning on stopping it at the end of the year. Before I get to the point of this email, I would also like to point out that I'm aware that this is not likely to be read out on your podcast because it doesn't exactly fit into any of the segments that you do throughout each episode. And because of that, I would be happy with just a reply via email, as I'm not entirely sure who else I could speak to on this topic. To give you a brief backstory, I was sexually abused by a male cousin when I was 5, and I believe he was 15 or 16 when he came to stay with us on holiday. He lives in another country in Europe. I'm now 24 and I've not yet told anyone in my family, although I am slowly building up the courage to do so as time goes on. Deterring me are things like the usual: will I be believed? How will I take having to confront him now? Will I have to go to court? Can they extradite him to the UK, etc.? I remember you mentioning that a similar thing happened to you as a child, and I just wanted to ask, how did you cope with it? When did you speak up about it? Did you go to therapy for it specifically? Something I plan to do once I can afford it, as I'm currently undertaking postgraduate studies full time. And any other general advice you can give me would be of immense help, and I would be incredibly grateful. Kindest regards, Anonymous." It took me a while to respond to this email because obviously, as much as I want to be there for people, I have to think about my own mental well-being as well. And actually reading all of the bits and thinking of how best to reply instantly made me feel sad. Like, I felt that sadness for Chamomile, and I just wanted to make sure that someone sharing something like that with me, I was gentle enough and considered enough in the things that I said back. But also I felt a deep responsibility to be honest about my specific experience, because I can't speak to everybody else's experience. So this is what I wrote back. I said, "Hey, Chamomile, my apologies for not responding sooner. I wanted to ensure that I had taken the time to read your message properly. First of all, I just want to say how sorry I am that you experienced such a thing, and I appreciate you trusting me enough to share it with me. You are amazing and deserve every happiness in the world. It pleases me to know that by reaching out in this way, you are clearly fighting for your happiness. I told my mum about my abuse when I was 16, but if I'm honest with you, it was an anticlimax. I expected that telling my mum would mean that all my past behaviors would be understood and that she would be more tender with me. That wasn't the case. Before telling your family, please consider that what it is that you want from telling them right now before you set up a support network for yourself in the form of counseling, etc." And I said, there are also free low free or low fee therapy sessions that you can have access to via the Guild of Psychotherapists. And I gave her the details for that. And I said that, they have trainees and graduates offering reduced fees and analytic psychotherapy 1 to 2 times a week, and a low fee clinic available to residents of Lambeth, Lewisham and Southwark at a minimum fee of £5. And I said, you mentioned the legal aspects of getting the justice you deserve in terms of extraditing, etc. But again, consider the emotional impact a lot of this will have on you. Your first priority is yourself. I would advise getting the support you need in place first, then to begin thinking about bringing family members into that trauma. I am instinctively protective of you going straight in because their reaction may add to your trauma. You know your family best, so if you think it would help at this stage to tell them, but you're struggling for the words, maybe consider writing a letter and asking them to read it while you sit close by. That way you can express all that you need to without feeling overwhelmed. I wish you all of the protection and the healing during this process. And please remember to be kind to yourself. People say it all the time, but it's important to understand that it really wasn't your fault and you didn't deserve it. And Chamomile wrote back after that saying, thank you for the advice. But I'm always so careful because I don't know what to say in these situations because I'm not a professional and I can only generally speak from my experience. But honestly, telling my mum was an anticlimax. It was an anticlimax for me because you feel like all these years that you hold it in, like when you finally speak about it, people will be understanding and they'll care. And honestly, anybody who is close to me, who has ever known what I've gone through, hasn't really stopped them from being dickheads to me or hurting me in different ways. It hasn't, it's not, people don't hear that things like that happen to you and they treat you better. No, people hear about that and they still hurt you in the ways that humans do. So it just goes to add to the trauma, I guess. But when I told my mum, she brought my aunt over, God rest her soul, my aunt's now passed away, her younger sister, my mum's younger sister. And what was sad about it is that they said, but so you've been holding it in all this time. You have to understand that sometimes, who hasn't been through this? Which one of us haven't been through these kind of things, huh? It's the way that these uncles, who hasn't had an uncle maybe do this and do that? And I just thought, fucking hell, imagine that. It's so common that we're talking about it as if it's almost a rite of passage. And there was such a helplessness to my mum and my aunt at that point that I just thought, I fucking refuse for this to be the way that I respond where if should someone ever share with me that they've been in a similar situation, because that is the moment within which that we are able to get our power back should we have the right environment to. In that moment, they could have said things that empowered me and made me feel like this wasn't my fault, all of this, all of that. But that's not really what I got. I just got oh, well, it's happened to so many of us. And it broke my heart and it made me angry. And from then, I think a seed was planted in me that I'm just going to have to change this conversation because I'm not talking about this shit as if I'm helpless. And there was the anticlimax, but the anticlimax was needed and it was necessary for me to know that if there's any work that needs to be done, I need to do it. And that's why I like the Black Angel card that was pulled for this week's episode, the Braider, in that it says that, all of the things that you're seeking from outside, the love that you're seeking from outside, you have to give it to yourself. And I think that the healing that I was looking for after being subjected to that violence, I was looking for from outside. I was looking that, okay, maybe when I told my mum that this would change, or if we confronted this man, that it would change. But actually, no. And this letter was timely because I mentioned in the main podcast that I went to a wedding recently, and the girls, the man who abused me, his relative was there. Because we were all looked after together, and she was at the wedding too. And I just knew that I'd come so far in my life because I didn't feel that urge like I used to feel before to pull her to the side and be like, why don't you talk about any of this? Why have you never spoken up about it? Why are you that ruined so much of my life? How are you still about? What? But I didn't have that urge anymore because I just realized that, we all deal with things in our own way, and she's just got to be left to her own thing. And I didn't feel an anger towards her anymore, because I used to feel such an anger towards her for the way that she would just pretend like everything's just whatever. Obviously, I could see in her actions that things weren't okay because of the way her behavior and the things that she did, but just generally it was just like la 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 la. But I didn't feel that at the wedding. I felt joyful. I felt like I'd taken, between that time of telling my mum and my aunt to now, I've taken such ownership of my life and started giving myself the love that I deserve and the approval and healing that I deserve, that I haven't really had to look to anybody else to do that for me. And that is what I wish for Chamomile as well. And people often speak, especially like with the Bill Cosby bullshit, people always speak about, oh, well, why did it take them so long to come forward? But you've now had cases where like we're literally telling you of fucking reasons and cases why people don't, because you're spending ages thinking about whether it's your fault, what you did wrong. Oh my God, will they believe me? Will people believe me when I tell them, and things like that? And especially when it happens to you when you're very, very young, the fear is very, very real. The fear is extremely real that people won't believe you and you'll get told off. And I'm someone, and the reason I think this personally is, and I was telling my mum this story the other day. I remember living in Nigeria when my mum moved to England, and I was staying with my mum's brother and his wife, so my uncle and aunt. And I remember watching a cartoon on the TV, and I laughed at the cartoon, and my aunt was like, oh my God, there's she's possessed by evil spirits. And she took me and I had to sleep in the church for days. And so that's before I left Nigeria. So that's before the abuse happened. So already as a child being treated in that way, I didn't feel like I could trust adults really. So to share something like that with them. So whatever stage, I don't know, that the abuse happened, you don't always necessarily feel like, yeah, boom, I'm ready to talk about it. It may take you years because you've got to process it yourself. You've got to do a lot of processing. And so that's why I think people should shut the fuck up when they're saying, oh, well, why didn't you say something? And I don't actually feel like there should be a statute of limitations for when people can speak up about abuse, because again, that's taking away their power and taking away their humanity. We don't all process things at the same rate. So I wish Chamomile all of the healing, and anyone who listens to this or watches this and has gone through similar, I wish you all of the healing, because it's not easy, but we will get there. It's a process. I don't feel like it's a destination so much as it's a journey. And I'm just praying for you all, really. And especially in this climate where everyone's talking so much about sexual assault, it's so easy to feel triggered because that's all you ever see on fucking Twitter and Instagram. And as much as I'm glad that the conversation is happening, it's also draining at the same time because you are having to relive your trauma because people are talking about theirs. But yeah, I hope that helps. I hope that me sharing that helps. I'm not someone that likes to share much personal stuff. It's just my build up. I don't share things about my life. But I hope that truly, truly helps someone out there. And that's it for this week's extra content. Thank you so much for all of the support that you've given me thus far. And like I said, there won't be an episode next week because I'll probably be away. But I love you all so, so, so much, so much. Get your cards because I'll send them out when I'm back. And I can't wait to see the affirmation cards that you pull daily and how it impacts your life. Love and blessings, baby boys, baby girls, and baby non-binaries. Peace.
It's the Benz Brunani womanist, baby boys, baby girls, you need to hear this. Sit down, receive this realness. Make sure your cup's ready for the tea, we are go sip it, yo. Hard time scrolling for your long throats. You might learn something you never know. Collect you fine, and she's one of a kind. Don't say you're mine, say you're mine.